Morning everyone, this is Kara from Kara's Tarot Corner, and today I'm going to do a slightly different video. What we're going to do today is I'm going to walk you all through the Fool's Journey. And then after the Fool's Journey is the story of the tarot cards. It's the story of the major arcana. It is the story of all of us. The Fool's Journey is actually a metaphor for the journey that we all take through life, and each card in the major arcana represents experiences that we all need to go through and experience in order to become whole, in order to reach our highest potentials. So even though some of those experiences might feel like, those are necessary experiences is for us to go through life and to become the best version of ourselves. So the Fool's Journey starts off with the Fool, and the Fool represents each of us while we're on that journey. The Fool is our innocent faith that represents new experiences and new beginnings, and it really represents taking a leap of faith and feeling confident in that leap of faith. It's ultimately the desire to go forth and learn. And if you could see both of them, this is the Lightseer's deck and this is the Rider-Waite. Their hands are wide open and they're ready to jump and take whatever is in their path. And then after they take that jump, we meet the Magician. And the Magician represents all of our conscious awareness. It represents concentration and willpower. And it tells us that with willpower, we have everything that we need to succeed. And from there, we run into the High Priestess. The High Priestess represents our mysterious unconscious. She's the veil between the seen and the unseen, and she's ultimately our unrealized potential. And then we run into the Empress, who is the maternal, she represents maternal nature, sensation. This is where we start discovering the things that make us feel good. And then we run into the Emperor, and the Emperor it represents masculinity, and not masculinity or femininity in being that. We all have masculine natures and we all have feminine natures, and the Emperor represents our masculine nature, and it represents structure and order and rules and predictability, how the world works. We learn that our will alone is not enough, that we need to, act in certain ways in order to get along in the world. And from there, we run into the Hierophant. And the Hierophant represents beliefs, traditions, or what we've learned for social acceptance, formal education. It represents our identity and belonging to a group. And at this point, we're sometimes asking ourselves, what is our identity? And do we agree with the way that we were taught and grown up, or do we have other outside beliefs? So that's what the Hierophant represents. And then as we're going along on our journey, we get the Lovers card. And the Lovers represent, it really represents wanting to be part of a half, wanting to be half of a whole relationship. It represents sexuality, sexual unions, the need to be connected to somebody else. Ultimately, the Lover's card also kind of represents us moving away from being self-centered. Up until this point, we're kind of self-centered. We're doing our own thing. We're going on our journey, and then boom, we meet somebody. And then we take our attention off of ourselves, and we start looking to get into a relationship with somebody. And then we have the Chariot, and the Chariot represents discipline. It represents action, willpower, inner control. Sorry about that. Inner control. It represents having mastery over ourselves, and it represents taking action and moving forward. And then we run into the Strength card. The Strength card is all about inner strength. It's about soft power. It's about courage and tolerance and patience. It's a softer type of power. If you can see here, this woman here, she's holding the mouth of a lion open. I mean, that takes a lot of strength, but she doesn't look like scared or fearful or aggressive. It's a quiet inner strength. It helps us face new challenges. It helps us it gives us the strength that we need, that is required to keep moving forward in a positive way. And then we run into the Hierophant. Run into the Hermit. And the Hermit's about going within. It's about quiet reflection. It's about finding deeper truths for ourselves. It's wanting to, for the first time, really figure some things out in life. It's about looking inwards, solitude, guidance, finding guidance. It's a deep need for understanding either of yourself or the world around you. And then we find ourselves at the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune really represents synchronicity. It's where we start learning things about destiny. What's our destiny? It represents turning points. It represents beauty and order in the world. And it's really when the Fool starts to begin to understand that everything is connected and everything happens for a reason. And when the Wheel of Fortune shows up, it generally means that things are looking up for you, but to understand that what goes up must go down. And it's really about finding that center so that when things are going down, that you're still in a solid space. And then we run into the Justice card. And the Justice card represents cause and effect. It's where we start learning responsibility, and decisions that we take to have our decisions have consequences, and we start reflecting on our lives. It's also, when this card shows up, it's ultimately time for us to make an important decision. And then we run into the Hangman. And the Hangman at first looks kind of scary. He's like hanging upside down. But really what it represents is seeing things from a new perspective. It represents being humbled, maybe, letting go, sacrificing something, whether it's something material or your beliefs. It's really gaining a new perspective. The Fool experiences situations that seem that almost seem too difficult to endure. But when this card shows up, it just says, just be still, let go of the struggle, and you may be able to see things differently. And then we run into the dreaded Death card, right? But the Death card's not scary. Really, on the Lightseer's deck, it says death or rebirth, because what the Death card represents is transition. It represents endings. It represents unavoidable situations that are going to come into your life that will end certain things, but also eliminating the things that don't work in your life. The Fool begins to experience new, more fulfilling ways of life. Again, death is a rebirth. It's the ending of what doesn't work, which sometimes feels uncomfortable. But it's always important to remember that when death shows up, it's saying that something's ending, but something's coming. And then we run into Temperance, which is a balance card. It's about moderation and stability. And that's a nice card to get, because remember, these cards all go in order. So we just have the Death card, and something just like ended. But now it's time for us to just create balance in our lives. It's about moderation, it's stability, and it's really ultimately about combining all aspects of ourselves together into a balance, to feel balanced and calm. And then after the Temperance card, we get the Devil card. And the Devil card, it's not necessarily like the devil and you're going to hell. It represents our desires and our needs and our addictions, and represents maybe being helpless or ignorant or being a slave to something, being held bondage to something, whether it's your addictions or people or your desires, whatever binds the Fool. This is what this represents. And we all have things that we like to do in excess, I think, whether it's thought processes even, or, all those carnal pleasures. And after the Death card, we get the Tower. And the Tower card is an intimidating card to get. It represents, ultimately, represents sudden change. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it comes out of nowhere, and it changes everything for good. It's a release of just what isn't working. Because oftentimes things that we are having trouble walking away from, the Tower comes, and then there is no choice but to walk away. Sudden change, crisis, shakeup, but after this, and that's again hard stuff, but don't worry, because after that, once you get through that, you find yourself with the Star card at the Star, and the Star represents serenity, it represents calm, it represents hope and inspiration and faith. Again, it comes after the storm of the Tower. So this is a good card. It's time to wish upon a star. That's how we think of this. We all wished upon a star sometime in our lifetime. And these are the time. This is the time where you wish upon that star, and those wishes will manifest. And then we run into the Moon. And the Moon is like a tricky card, because you're still feeling really positive from that star, and you're feeling motivated and things are good. And then you get the Moon card, and the Moon is just about illusions. Maybe it's about fantasies. It's about maybe being bewildered, or your imagination. It's ultimately, sometimes it's just saying, be careful, because you might be having a false picture of what the truth is. You might be getting caught up in something and you're not seeing the full picture. And then we find ourselves at the Sun card, and the Sun card is a great card. It's clarity, it's feeling enlightened, it is good energy and enthusiasm. It's being assured. It's just being in a good place, and things are finally falling into place. It's often talks about being involved in like big undertakings that are positive and working out. It's at a point where the Fool starts realizing his greatness, realizing that no matter all of the experiences that he's had, he's good and life is good. And then we run into the Judgment. And the Judgment card is not what it appears. The Judgment card is more about inner reflection. It's about personal reckoning. It's about forgiving yourself and forgiving others. It's calling to your higher self. It's asking you to be to take the higher road. The Fool is now ready to follow his dream. And then we have the World card. That's the last card. It's the 21st card. And the World is really talks about fulfillment and integrating all aspects of yourselves, and feeling accomplished, and having a full, meaningful life. The Fool has a better understanding now of who he is and on the journey that he took. And then we start over again, because life is constant, and we start a new journey, and we start that journey with a higher level of understanding, maybe a little bit more awake, as they say. So there you go. That's the quick story of the Fool's journey. And from here on out, I am going to do a card a day, and we're going to go through each card in more detail, including not just the major arcana, but the minor arcana as well. The cups, the swords, the pentacles, the wands, each of those suits tell a story as well about our emotions, about our thought processes, about our intellect, about our passion, about our material life, our finances. So I look forward to doing that with you all, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to leave a comment. And remember that good follows good, so choose good, and have a good day. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.